Hello, I'm Min Kobayashi, and today I'm going to be talking about the books I have read in October 2018. And they're mostly poetry, but we're gonna pretend this. I've not done my wrap-ups since August, which I sincerely apologize for. My life has been a little bit crazy. Without further ado, I'm going to talk about the books that I've read, even though I've missed the previous few months. So, first of all, I read Hunger by Roxane Gay. This is a book that I thought was wonderful. I'm not a huge reader of memoirs. It's something that I've gotten into since starting BookTube, and I actually really enjoy them, the ones that I've read. This is her talking about her body, especially considering her weight gain after being gang raped as a pubescent child. And it's horrific, yet it is touching and relatable and beautiful. It is raw in a way that most people wouldn't be able to be, and in many ways I could relate to her and I could cry out and say, why don't people talk about this more? It touched me in ways that really mattered to me. I am a survivor of sexual violence as well as having an eating disorder. I don't struggle with binge eating, but I struggle with the opposite, anorexia, which often comes out of that need of control as well, that feeling that you can't control the situations around you so you can control your body. And there's a lot of what she said that I could understand and relate to, even though our stories are maybe sometimes seem very diverse, but they connect in ways that I found really touching. And yeah, it might not be something that you can relate to personally, but I would definitely recommend giving it a shot. It has some powerful lines and beautiful text in it. Second of all, I read The Rose and the Dagger. This is by Renee Ahdieh. I had to finish the series because it's been over a year since I read The Wrath and the Dawn, and I'm going to say I had the same issue I had with the first one. I enjoyed the writing style. It was mesmerizing. It was beautiful. Her metaphors, she just write poetry pretty much. However, I didn't connect with the characters, and I found them actually more irritating than in the first one. And yeah, I'm going to give her more chances because I think Renee Ahdieh can be a really great author. She just needs to have more maturity and development in her characters. They have to be more down to earth, make logical decisions. I'm glad that I finished the series and could get a conclusive end to it. I don't think it needed the second book. It could have easily just been one book. I have not been giving ratings. My Hunger I gave 4 stars, and this one I gave 2 stars. 2 stars are books that I liked, but I wouldn't reread. I have Solace by Gail Carriger. I don't have the name written down. It is a paranormal kind of, I don't know if it's actually characterized as humor, but it is a very funny kind of zany retelling with it's not trying to take itself seriously, and it's definitely not my type of book that I normally reach for. It's very, very romance heavy, which is not my cup of tea, but I did actually enjoy it. I gave it 2 stars because I wouldn't reread it. I don't see myself coming back to it, but if that is more your type, I would definitely recommend it. It's probably closer to the 2.5. I mostly picked it up because I adore Jasana C, and she loves it and raves about it all the time. A book that blew me out of the water in expectations, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I did not expect to enjoy this book very much. I bought it in May 2017 and I just hadn't picked it up. I watched the movie. I love the song Home in it. It is one of the songs that I listen to repeatedly by Florence and the Machine just to calm down in life. But that's the only thing that I loved about this movie. The book, however, I absolutely loved. I love especially his writing style and his diversity of characters. His characters don't really fit into the cliche things, and I like that he turns a lot of really cliche things into something unique in its own. And I had just come to accept that my life would be ordinary when extraordinary things began to happen. That's just beautiful writing. And then you have this one, which is totally me. So one day, my mother sat me down and explained that I couldn't become an explorer because everything in the world had already been discovered. I'd been born in the wrong century, and I felt cheated. This is my biggest complaint in life. I'm why am I born in the 21st century? I love the internet and the beauty and that I have basic hygiene that I don't have to like scramble for, but also like I just want to explore things and write things and discover things that people haven't found yet. And of course we're still doing that, but it doesn't seem like nearly as fast, and I feel like no matter what I'm gonna do isn't gonna be that great because other people have done it before. You know, I just want to be the unique little snowflake. Let me be a unique little snowflake, pretty much. Arrogance incarnated. Like the pictures, it's just a really unique style. Like the way that he came up with this book I think is awesome, and I really like it. It reminds me of how C.S. Lewis came up with the Narnian series from a lamppost and a fawn, and yeah, I just love it. And I'm going to read the second book soon, which means in the next year time. I gave it 4 stars. I was listening to Hamilton and I was like, I want some American history in me. I'm Canadian, by the way. So I just started writing the Gettysburg Address, and it was good. It was like, hey, this is what Lincoln is talking about, because it's referenced so like ever presently in American stuff, and I have no idea what it actually said. It was longer than I thought it was, but it was decent. I gave it 4 stars. I previously watched a recording of him doing it, but I read I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr., and it was so powerful. I gave it 5 stars, and I literally wish I want a physical copy. I don't know how to get a physical copy because I've looked it up, but finding, you know, great historical American things in Canada, and because I was reading I Have a Dream, I started reading Letter from the Birmingham Jail, which was even better than I Have a Dream. He really inspires me already, and it is so incredibly powerful. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You deplore the demonstrations that are presently taking place in Birmingham, but I am sorry that your statement did not express a similar concern for the conditions that brought the demonstration into being. History is a long and tragic story of the fact that privileged groups seldom give up their privilege voluntarily. The answer is found in the fact that there are 2 types of laws. There are just laws and there are unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is not a law at all. We can never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. Like, mic dropped! Anyways. Yeah, I have a crush on his words, and I just want to, like, say them all the time. I gave that 5 stars, like, galore. Driving by Starlight by Annette Dasherin, I believe it. Okay, I've talked about this book before. I want to do a review if I can get all my thoughts together. It is incredible. It is written by a Saudi Arabian woman under a pseudonym about the experiences of being a woman in Saudi Arabia, living under oppression, and her friendship with another person. Their characters are Lena and Michelle, and dealing with the fact that one of them is the daughter of a minister, a cabinet minister, and one of them is the daughter of a protester that is imprisoned. And it is extraordinary tale of friendship, and the quotes through it is beautifully galore. That is my precept. I will try to do a review soon of it because I think it is incredible and done so well, and the writing is just melodic in sound and so poignant. It's like, oh, I adore it. It's a new release, and when all these people that talk about diverse books, why has this never been talked about? Like, I never heard it. I just saw it on a library shelf, and I picked it up because it was called Driving by Starlight, which sounds amazing, and then it ended up being an incredible book. So go read it, please. And I gave it 4 stars because it was really great. It did have, like, some things that I didn't like about it. I read And Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, and I've come to a really sad conclusion. It might not be an interminate conclusion for the rest of history of my life, but I don't think that I'm into the poetry of Maya Angelou. I love her book. I read I Know Where the Caged Birds Sing, though. It's like 3 shelves up. And it was so wonderful and so poignant, and it was beautiful. But I've read her other poetry. I read a collection of poetry called Celebrations, and then I read this one, and some of it was amazing. I just find them inconsistent. Some of it hits so hard, but then some of it is just, like, it just doesn't seem to go there. I don't know. It doesn't work well for me. But her points are beautiful. It's just the poetry itself. I don't like the style. Read her books. memoirs. So far, I've loved them. Oh, If You Forget Me by Pablo Neruda. It's like this long, but it's really, really good, and I loved it a lot. I thought it was poignant and exactly what breakups, kind of your thought process through a breakup. And I gave it 3 stars. I gave And You Rise 2 stars again because it was not a bad poem, it just wasn't really for me. And then 3, The Collected Works of Langston Hughes. So this is kind of a cheat because I haven't read it since September. Pretty much what I decided is that my library I'd had it out from my library for too long, and I wasn't going to read any more at this time. It is one that I will go back to, and I will count it as a book because I read 100 pages and went through his first 20 years of poetry. So it's a collected work. It has like 700 or 800 pages of poetry. And I just realized I can't read that many poems from that same person, like, over just a short period of time. His childhood poems were really, really great. He has fire in his words, and his social commentary is great. He talks about racism, he talks about love, he talks about, surprisingly for the time period, the oppression of women. Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. I feel like I have a new writer crush, and that would be Robert Frost. Everything I've read by him so far is delightful and wonderful. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to know that for destruction, ice is also great, and that would suffice. His social commentary, his word, his choices is just brilliance incarnate, and I love it so much. Those are the books that I read, mostly poetry, but also audiobooks, and a few physical. Like, I'm trying to push myself to read more physical books, which also decreases my amount of books, and I hope you leave your thoughts and what your favorite book was to read. And you guys are awesome and fantastic. Bye.